the third report is a market analysis that Civilian put together for San Diego continuing education, I believe last year or at the beginning of this year. So I also put that in the Canvas shell. But the good thing about this report is that this report was developed in a way that allows you to isolate each of the campus's demographics. So if you didn't like this one because it was San Diego City, and that is not specific enough, you can look at the Civilian report, because that has data for each of the campuses. So I look at the Civilian report, and I'm gonna look at the last column, the one that says percentage of the market. And you can see how African Americans, they represent 6% of the demographics or of the total population in the area surrounding Cesar Chavez. Now, I wanna take one step, I wanna pause for a little while, and I wanna make sure that we are all on the same page why location is so important when we speak about non-credit.
Did you have a question? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
So I guess I want to point out that whenever we're trying to analyze this kind of information, location seems to be very important. Right now, for example, we're trying to isolate only Cesar Chavez. So I'm wondering if any of you could provide me any thoughts on why do you believe it's so important location whenever we're doing this kind of access analysis?
Well, because our housing is so segregated and so different areas of the city have very different populations depending on who lives there, and their needs are different. And, you know, it's why we choose to put some programs in one spot and not in another, because of the population surrounding the campus, right?
Yeah, that is great. Yes.
Transportation concerns as far as, you know, is the campus easily accessed?
Do you, by easily accessed, you mean like?
Oh, go ahead. Is it easy to get to that campus on any of the public transportation? Yes. Primarily?
Yes, that is critical. The one thing and we talk about a lot. We have been talking about that a lot lately, because when you compare, for example, credit college students versus non-credit college students, or even four-year college students versus non-credit, one thing that it is very different between our population and their population is the fact that many of our students, they don't even have a car. They don't have a reliable source of transportation. So for lots of them, just because you have this great offering, say at the north of the city, or that doesn't mean, I mean, I might love whatever you're offering nearby Mira Mesa or at Miramar College, that might be great. But the problem is that I live in, say, San Isidro. So how am I supposed to drive there every day? So that is why thinking about the location is critical. Because as Leah mentioned, yes, the demographics at every different neighborhood are gonna change, and we cannot assure, or we are not really, we cannot assure that students are gonna be able to drive or take the public transportation to get to point A to, you know, from point A to point B. So that is why it's very important to always keep location, you know, as a, in our analysis, especially when we're talking about access. So that is great feedback. So I wanna point out that by looking at the 6% here, I still see a problem, because my classroom only had 2%, you know, the demographic compensation was 2% African American. So this data is showing me that at least 6% of the market is African American. And you can take this even deeper. You can take this, you know, go even further, because you might be wondering, well, yes, Jesus, but you also need to consider that not all the people, say, are interested in a CTE program, or not all the people are interested in an ESL program or getting their high school diploma. That also, you know, that could also be included in the analysis. I wanted to show you, hold on one sec. Just so that you can see Civilian's report. So if you go to the Canvas shell and then you click on resources, you're gonna find this report. And this is the report that we're talking about. So you can see how, for example, for Cesar Chavez, the report shows you like the zip codes that are making the most of your total enrollment for that campus. So that comes pretty handy because it allows you to really understand if, are my students coming from areas nearby the campus, or are they coming from, places far from there? And you can even click in here. If you click here, it says click here for map. It's going to take you to a place where you can look at the different zip codes, because you might be wondering, well, yeah, Jesus, but I don't know what, 92101, I don't know where that is. So you can click in here and that's going to show you where you can find it.
So those top 3 zip codes are 50% of our enrollment. And I believe that they're also 50% of ECC's enrollment, or we share a zip code that together combined, it's like 40% of all enrollment.
Yeah, I think it's 92101, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just something, it's interesting. Those 3 zip codes to us are most important from a campus perspective.
And the critical thing here to keep in mind is you can see how, for example, this is another great idea. Okay, why don't we focus on the zip codes, or why don't we focus on this demographics, or why don't we focus on the fact that if a student, they have a car or they don't have a car, all those different things. Again, I just want to stress enough that there's not like a unique path. It wouldn't be feasible for us to show you all the potential combinations of research that you can do, all the potential analysis, you can put together. No, that is more of what are you interested in learning more about. So again, this is another good resource that you can use. And this is